Canada. The name itself evokes images of vast, untouched wilderness. It suggests towering mountains capped with snow, endless forests stretching to the horizon. Many see it as a young country, a modern nation built in a new world. But the story of this land is ancient, a tale written in the very rock and soil beneath our feet. Long before any human set foot here, colossal glaciers, miles thick, advanced and retreated across the continent. These great rivers of ice carved deep valleys, sculpted majestic fjords scoured the land, leaving a dramatic and varied landscape that would one day become home to millions. The geological history of Canada is a saga of epic proportions. It begins billions of years ago with the formation of the Canadian Shield. This ancient core of rock is among the oldest on Earth, a foundation of granite and gneiss covering almost half of the country. The shield tells a story of volcanic islands colliding continents and the slow, patient work of erosion over eons. It is the heartland of Canada, rugged and beautiful, rich in minerals dotted with countless lakes. Those lakes are the legacy of the last ice age, meltwater filling depressions left by retreating glaciers. This ancient bedrock is the stage upon which Canada's history would unfold. The last great glaciation, the Wisconsin glacial episode, had the most profound impact. It ended only about 11,000 years ago, a mere blink in geological time. As the ice sheets melted, they released unimaginable quantities of water. That water formed immense glacial lakes, larger than any today, like Lake Agassiz, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Ontario. The retreat of the ice was not gentle. It was dramatic and sometimes violent, with catastrophic floods carving new river channels and reshaping the terrain. The landscape we see today is the direct result of this powerful and recent geological activity. This journey bequeathed Canada immense beauty and resources. Mountains of the west, fertile plains of the prairies. The ancient shield of the north, gentle lowlands of the east, understanding. This deep history is crucial to understanding Canada. It explains the distribution of natural resources, the patterns of rivers and lakes, and the ground where first peoples built their lives. The story of Canada does not begin with the arrival of ships from Europe. It begins with the slow, powerful dance of ice and rock, creating a continent of breathtaking scale and diversity. Long before Canada was a country, and long before European explorers ever dreamed of a new world, this vast land was already home to a rich mosaic of peoples. The first inhabitants of Canada were diverse and sophisticated societies, each with its own unique culture, language, and spiritual beliefs. They are known collectively as Indigenous peoples, First Nations Inuit Metis. Their ancestors arrived in North America thousands of years ago, likely migrating across a land bridge that once connected Asia and Alaska. From these ancient beginnings, they spread out across the continent, adapting to its many different environments with remarkable ingenuity and resilience. The diversity among these first peoples was astounding. On the Pacific coast, Haida Nucha North Kwakwakawaku developed complex societies based on the abundance of the sea. They were master woodworkers, creating magnificent totem poles, huge plank houses, and massive ocean-going canoes. Their societies were often hierarchical, with elaborate ceremonies like the potlatch that served to redistribute wealth and affirm social status. In the vast interior plains, Cree Blackfoot Sioux were nomadic hunters. Their lives revolved around the bison, which provided them with food, clothing, and shelter. In the eastern woodlands, Iroquois Confederacy, also known as the Haudenosaunee Algonquin peoples. The Haudenosaunee were skilled farmers, cultivating corn, beans, and squash in settled villages. They lived in longhouses, large communal dwellings that housed multiple families. Their political system, the Great Law of Peace, was a sophisticated confederacy that inspired some of the principles of modern democracy. Far to the north, in the harsh and unforgiving Arctic, the Inuit perfected the art of survival. They developed an incredible array of technologies and skills to thrive: igloos for shelter, hunted seals and whales from kayaks, and traveled across the ice on dog sleds. These diverse groups, from the Pacific to the Atlantic to the Arctic, were the original inhabitants of this land. Their history is the foundational history of Canada, a story of deep connection to the land that stretches back to time immemorial. The first faint echoes of the Old World reached the shores of what is now Canada. Around the year 1000 AD, Norse explorers sailed from Greenland, established a settlement at Lance O Meadows in modern-day Newfoundland. Led by Leif Erikson, they searched for timber and new resources. These voyages were the first documented contact between Europeans and indigenous peoples. For nearly 500 years, the two worlds remained separate. By the late 15th century, a new age of exploration was dawning in Europe. Driven by a desire for new trade routes to Asia and advances in shipbuilding and navigation, European monarchs funded voyages across the Atlantic. In 1497, 5 years after Columbus, John Cabot sailed under the English flag and landed on the coast of North America. Likely landfall, Newfoundland. Likely landfall, Cape Breton Island. Believing he'd reached Asia, Cabot claimed the land for England. His reports of codfish sparked huge interest. Fishing fleets from England, France, Portugal, Spain voyaged to the Grand Banks. They established seasonal camps on shore to dry their catch, leading to more contact with the Mi'kmaq and the Beothuk. In 1534, Jacques Cartier sailed into the Gulf of St. Lawrence. He searched for a northwest passage to Asia, a mythical route that would obsess explorers for centuries. He didn't find it, but he explored the St. Lawrence River, claimed the territory for France, and met the St. Lawrence Iroquois. Cartier erected a large cross at Gaspé, a symbol of French imperial and religious aims. Cartier's voyages laid the foundation for the French Empire in North America and marked the beginning of a new chapter in the history of this land. In 1608, Samuel de Champlain founded Quebec City. From this foothold, New France slowly grew. Its economy wasn't large-scale farming, it was the fur trade. Beaver pelts were hugely valuable in Europe for felt hats. French traders paddled deep into the interior by canoe. They lived with indigenous partners, learned languages, and often married indigenous women. These relationships gave rise to the Métis people. The Hudson's Bay Company, founded 1670, built a fur empire in Rupert's Land. A direct commercial and geopolitical rivalry with France emerged. For 150 years, North America was a battlefield between Britain and France. They fought over land, resources, and influence. The climax was the 7 Years' War. The decisive clash was the 1759 Battle of the Plains of Abraham. British victory led to the 1763 Treaty of Paris. The treaty handed most French North American territories to Britain. The French-speaking inhabitants of the former New France, now known as Canadians, faced an uncertain future. To ensure their loyalty, the British Parliament passed the Quebec Act of 1774. It guaranteed the freedom of the Canadians to practice their Catholic faith, and it restored the French civil law system for private matters. The American Revolution, which began shortly after, further solidified Canada's separate path. Following the American victory, tens of thousands of colonists who had remained loyal to Britain, known as the United Empire Loyalists, fled the new United States. They settled in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and what would become modern-day Ontario. To manage tensions, the British government passed the Constitutional Act of 1791. The act divided the old province of Quebec into two new colonies: Upper Canada, largely English-speaking, now Ontario; Lower Canada, largely French-speaking, now Quebec. The War of 1812, in which the United States invaded British North America, was a pivotal moment. This shared experience of defense helped to foster a nascent sense of a shared Canadian identity, distinct from both Britain and the United States. By the mid-19th century, political pressures were mounting. Leaders in the various colonies began to see the benefits of uniting. After years of conferences and negotiations, this vision became a reality. On July 1, 1867, Ontario, Quebec, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick were united through the British North America Act, creating the Dominion of Canada. The Canadian Pacific Railway was a monumental engineering feat that physically bound the country together. But expansion came at great cost to Indigenous peoples of the West, whose lands were taken, treaties were signed under duress, and ways of life were dismantled through residential schools. The 20th century saw Canada come of age on the world stage. Canada made significant contributions and sacrifices in World War I. Canadian soldiers earned renown at Vimy Ridge, and in World War II, at Juno Beach. After the wars, Canada embraced a role as a middle power, promoting multilateralism, peacekeeping, and international cooperation. At home, the post-war era brought economic prosperity, suburban growth, and a social safety net, including universal health care. The nation evolved from a British dominion to a sovereign, distinctly Canadian country. Today, Canada is more complex and diverse than ever. Since the 1960s, official multiculturalism transformed the social fabric. Yet modern Canada still faces profound challenges. Quebec's relationship with the rest of Canada continues to evolve. The historical relationship with Indigenous peoples remains central and unresolved, with ongoing efforts toward truth and reconciliation. The story of Canada is not finished. It is a dynamic, ongoing narrative, a land of immense beauty and diversity, still writing its history day by day.